So the last couple weeks we were talking about how the Kimura is buddies with the guillotine, the arm bar, and the back take. Right? I'm saying that a lot so you guys remember it. So anytime I'm working the Kimura, we're thinking of the Kimura as a position, right? Not a submission. We think of it as a position, we think, I get here and I have stuff to do. You think of a submission, you're kind of like, oh, I got it or I didn't get it. That's really not the way to think about a Kimura. Because the Kimura is actually like a super grip. It's like a 2-on-1. You get a lot of control. So whenever I'm threatening a Kimura, I have the option to go arm bar, or go guillotine, or go back take. So in this case, the guillotine is pretty close for this particular entry. So when I'm working this north-south position, when I start isolating the arm, Mike's naturally going to try and hide his arm, which is going to expose his neck. Okay? Because it's very difficult for him to defend everything at once. If I drop into a nice north-south here, okay, ideally he's trying to turn his chin towards me. He's doing all this work to start getting out. He's under to get out. But as soon as I start isolating this arm, he starts worrying about getting this elbow pulled towards the mat. See how it starts turning his chest up? Okay, so I'm trying to get Mike here to attack, right? So as soon as he feels I'm starting to go to that Kimura, he's going to start flattening back this way, which is going to make it easier for me to drop into this north-south guillotine. Okay, so if Mike's here, his neck's vulnerable. If he's here, he's a little bit safer, but his arm's exposed. So I'm trying to force him into a corner where if he goes left, it's wrong. If he goes right, it's wrong. If he goes right, it's wrong. If he goes left, it's wrong. Mix it up. There were some classes in school I didn't do very well at. so we're here. So same thing. Boom, underneath the shoulder, checking the hip. I'm going to point my hip towards the mat, drop into this pocket nice and mean. I'm using my ribs right away to turn his chin. That's absolutely essential, both for north-south control instead of this attack. If I don't use my ribs to turn this chin, I'm going to lose a lot of my options here. Because as soon as Mike's able to turn towards me, then the underhook gets power again. He's come up to his knees, and I also lose his guillotine. So I'm going to boom, turn his chin here. So a lot of times the first thing I look for is I start looking at this elbow. Okay, I start trying to threaten this. Even if I don't really want it, as long as I pretend I have something, it's going to open stuff up. I say it a lot, and a lot of you guys look at me like I'm silly. Like I tell you to pretend like you have something. If he's like grab something and start, a lot of times guys get worried about it and open stuff up. It seems silly, but it happens all the time. So I start looking for this elbow, and Mike starts hiding this elbow. He starts pulling the elbow towards the mat. So this weakens his control a little bit for me here. I'm losing the Kimura, but I'm still acting like I kind of want it. Okay, so I'm getting nice and low. See, everything's flat from the mat. I'm not up on my knees. I want to stay nice and low, no space. This arm here, I'm going to loop it back underneath his neck, nice and tight. Okay? So whenever I'm here, there's no space between my bicep and his neck. If you start getting fuzzy, let me know. All right. Okay. I put a kid to sleep one time. I felt really bad.
Oh, of course, mom.
Yeah. So I'm getting this bicep nice and tight, and my ribs are turning. Keeping his chin turned here. I want to keep a lot of pressure on you. You can't be nice with this choke. You got to keep a lot of pressure here, keeping that bicep in. Now on this side, my thumb is pointing to the ceiling. Thumbs up is good. Yay, thumbs up. That's what we're doing. So I'm here, nice and low. So now in this position, I'm just going to check his hip. Okay? Start sinking my weight low. I'm not lifting my butt. I'm getting nice and low here. Okay? Now once I get low and I feel like I'm on his chin nice and tight, I'm going to take my head to the other side. Okay? I'm going to pull this arm out. Push this arm away, and start sinking low. Now, every time I sink, I want to push my ribs into his chin just to make sure it's turned. Here. I'm hanging on to this wrist extra long because I don't want him, if Mike's able to grab this arm, this top arm here, other arm, he's able to keep this arm grabbed here. If he blocks me from making this transition out, you can keep yourself from getting choked. So that's why I want to get in here and push it away from me. Keep this arm out again. So I stay nice and low, keep pressure. Nice and tight. Get my head all the way down here. See how my head's basically on his, you got a green woman here. I'm on the green woman. And I got my head got my ear right next to his shoulder. Okay, nice and tight, nice and low. Now once I'm in this position, once I feel like I've got my bicep kind of set in his neck, take this hand and grab my other hand. So I'm grabbing from the pinky, cup it up here like this. Now to finish this nice and low, stay nice and wide, and start flexing my bicep here. Now, it's one of those chokes where you should count it. I'm going to give Mike a little space to breathe. Count to 6 because it's going to be a nice tight blood choke. So it doesn't tap right away, that's fine. Just keep your pressure low and tight. Now, the last little trick here, just flexing here is going to give me some pressure. What I like to do once you get nice and low is I just kind of ratchet into his head. So the very last little tip I go, let's get the finish. Boom, hook, head, point, up and in, great, nice and neat. So I start thinking underneath his elbow, I go over the Kimura, he's hiding. So I just sink a little low, see if I can get his chin exposed. I feel like he's giving it up. So I come underneath, start punching underneath his head. So keeping his chin turned. Sink a little bit farther back, pull his arm out, take the bicep, looking away from his head. Every time I slink, I'm push my ribs into his chin. Low, 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 low. Now once I'm here, so I got my ear on the green woman. I'm feeling good. You grab my hand, low. Just a little bit of flex of the bicep. So basically, the idea is I'm not going and to get this finish. I'm staying nice and low here. So I'm keeping my head this way, so I'm leaning my shoulder into that neck. I sink low, 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 low. And the reason I'm sinking, when I first wrapped his head, my arms kind of folded like this. And as I start slinking down, it lines that bicep up. So I got my bicep right over my wrist. So I got pressure coming up and I got pressure coming down. Here. And then in the last second, I just ratchet into the head. So his head's here and he's feeling like, oh, this sucks. So he goes, and this is getting super tight. It's basically pushing his head into my bicep. All right, you guys good? That makes sense, everybody? Let's choke some people.
With the green one.